Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet, our session of chemical reactions and equations. In the last session, we discussed how to balance a chemical equation, right? I told you about writing a chemical formula, using those symbols and balancing an equation. Okay. Now today we'll discuss few more examples of balancing of chemical equations. Here I have a word equation written, that is, when lead nitrate is heated, it decomposes to lead monoxide, nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. Now students, what do you mean by decomposes? Decomposes means breaking down into smaller molecules, fine, like your lead nitrate. This lead nitrate is heated. What is this lead nitrate, students? This is heated here and I have to put an arrow in between. That is, lead nitrate is heated. It is giving lead monoxide, nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. This is the word equation for it, for the statement. Now I'll move to my next slide. Here I am giving you the skeletal equation, that is the equation in which all the formulas and symbols are kept for giving it a form of a chemical equation. Now students, you three see lead nitrate. The formula is lead Pb, nitrate is NO3 minus. Fine. So here I am getting, students, if I write it here like this is lead, the symbol for lead is Pb and nitrate. Right? The symbol for nitrate is NO3 minus. Right? Now students, lead has how many electrons are present in the outermost orbit? It is 4. But lead can use only 2 electrons. Fine. So if I write the formula, what will be the formula of lead nitrate become? It will be Pb NO3 twice. Right? Now when I am heating, I am getting lead oxide. Again, the symbol for lead is, students, Pb, and oxide, the symbol for oxygen. So do you remember what is the symbol for oxygen? Oxygen is O. And what is the valency, students? Valency of oxygen is 2. And what I have told you, valency of lead is? Valency of lead can be either 4 or 2. But here we are taking 2. So what will be the formula of lead oxide become? PbO. Cross multiplying the valencies. Here the valency of lead is 2. Got my point? Now we have got nitrogen dioxide. As the name indicates, it is dioxide, means there are 2 oxygen atoms attached to nitrogen. And we are getting here oxygen. That is how oxygen exists. It exists as a diatomic molecule. Remember? Now let's balance this equation. How we will start balancing? Count the number of atoms on both sides of the equation. Fine. Now let's start counting. The number of oxygen atoms, I'll write the equation here again for you. That is PbNO3. What was our equation? PbNO3 twice. When I am heating it, what I am getting is lead oxide, PbO, plus nitrogen dioxide plus oxygen. This was our equation. Now, students, what is the number of atoms of oxygen? This is, yes students. So what is the number of oxygen atoms on the reactant side? How much it is? 3 multiplied by 2. That is 6. And it is an even number. The number of oxygen atoms on the product side is how much? 1 with PbO, 2 with nitrogen dioxide and 2 in oxygen. So how much it is coming? It is coming out to be 5 and it is an odd number, right? Now make it into an even number by adding 2 in front of PbO. Right? Now students, if I am adding 2 in front of PbO, my equation will become Pb, that is lead nitrate, PbNO3 twice, gives, what I am doing is, I am adding 2 in front of PbO plus of NO2 plus of oxygen. Right? Now, this is our equation. Now, if I have added 2 in front of PbO, so what I have to do is, now students, just check out how many atoms of lead are on the RHS. Now it has become 2. So you must add 2 in front of lead nitrate also. So what will be your equation become? 2 PbNO3 whole twice gives 2 PbO plus NO2 plus O2. Now this is your equation. Okay? Now students, just let's see whether it is balanced or not. Let's check out the number of lead here, right? So what is the, now I'll write it here, LH, this is our LHS and RHS, right? So what is the number of lead atoms, students? On the LHS, it is 2. RHS, lead is how much? 2. Nitrogen, how much nitrogen is there on the LHS side? Just tell me, it's, how many nitrogen are there? It is 4 nitrogen. How many nitrogen on the RHS side? It is 1 nitrogen. Oxygen, how many oxygen on the LHS side, students? How many oxygen are there? There is 6 and there is 12 oxygen. How many oxygen on the RHS side? It is 4 plus 2, 6 oxygen. Now students, is the equation balanced? Just tell me, is the equation balanced? No. So students, our equation is not yet balanced. Now how many nitrogen you require on the RHS side? I require 4 nitrogen. So let's add, what I can do is add 4 in front of NO2. Got my point? Now what my equation will become? Just write down the equation. I'll write the equation here. That is 2 PbNO3 whole twice gives me 2 PbO plus, what I'm saying is add 4 in front of NO2. So it will be 4 NO2 plus oxygen. Now students, tell me, now is the equation balanced? Is it balanced? I have got 2 lead on LHS side, 2 lead on RHS. I have got 4 nitrogen LHS. How many nitrogen I have got in RHS? It is 4. I have got 12 oxygen on LHS. How many oxygen are there on the RHS? Let's count. 2 with the lead, 8 with NO2 and 2 oxygen atoms in one molecule. So there are 12 oxygen on the RHS side also, right? Now our equation is balanced. As I have previously told you students, you cannot change the formula of a compound. What you can do is just start adding the least number, then count the number of atoms on both LHS and RHS side, right? So I hope now you can balance a chemical equation. Okay. Now let's move to a chemical equation. An equation does not reveal whether the reaction is complete or incomplete. What does it mean? Say students, if I am writing a chemical equation here, that is C plus O2 gives CO2. Now just by seeing this equation, can you tell me whether your reaction is complete or not? This is an equation. C, that is carbon, plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide. Right. Now just by seeing this equation, can you tell whether an equation is complete or incomplete? No, children, you can't tell it. Right. Now our second point is, it does not give any information regarding the speed of reaction. Again, check out this equation. Is this equation telling you anything? At what speed the reaction is going on? What speed means at what rate the reactants are converted to products. Now what is the rate? Rate means the amount or the concentration change per minute or per second. How much concentration of reactant is being changed? Does this equation tell you? No, it is not telling. Right? It does not give the concentration of substances. Is it telling you how much carbon is taken, or how much grams of carbon is taken, or what is the concentration of oxygen being taken, or how much carbon dioxide is being formed? No. In certain cases, students, when we take H2SO4 or when I am taking HCl, there I can write dilute or concentrated terms. Like if I am writing this equation, that is your NaCl plus H2SO4. Now what type of H2SO4 I am talking about? It is a concentrated or a dilute one. So I will simply write dilute, and this will give you Na2SO4 plus 2HCl. Got my point? I'll make it 2NaCl now. Now you can make out why I have done it 2NaCl. So students, this is just telling that whether your H2SO4 is concentrated or dilute. Is it telling that there is 25 ml of H2SO4 in 100 ml solution, or is it telling there is 50 ml in 100 ml? No, the concentration is not told in an equation. Got my point? Now next is, it does not give the conditions of temperature, pressure and catalyst. Now students, I have got your two things here, two equations here. Carbon plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide, and NaCl plus H2SO4 gives Na2SO4 plus HCl. Does the two equation give what is the temperature here, or what is the pressure in which the reaction is being carried out, or you have used a catalyst or not? So a chemical equation doesn't tell you anything about all these things. So now what is our responsibility? Now how can we represent those things? Just tell me, how can we represent those things? We can represent it by writing on an arrow. Okay, there is an arrow between the reactants and the products. So if I write this information above and below the arrow, I'll get all these things. Okay. So this is a chemical equation. Now in order to get some more information about a chemical equation, what you have to do is you have to write it separately. Like it does not give any idea about color changes. Okay. In the initial sessions, I told you that a chemical equation is accompanied with either evolution of gas or precipitation of a substance or change in color. So a simple chemical equation doesn't indicate any change in color. So in this equation, students, what we have done is we have written the colors separately, like lead oxide, chocolate brown color, and PbO, that is also a form of oxide. Lead oxide, it is yellow in color, and oxygen is colorless, right? So in order to give additional information, what we can do is we can write it on the equation itself. So color change can be indicated separately. Now there is another feature of a chemical equation, that is it does not give any indication regarding the production or absorption of heat. This is mentioned separately. Say I wrote the equation of combustion of carbon in air, that is carbon plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide. Now in this case, heat is evolved. So what we have to do is, we have to write this heat on the product side. Then only we can get to know that the heat is being evolved. Fine. Now, indicating the heat changes in an equation. Chemical reactions are often accompanied by evolution or absorption of energy. As I have told you in previous sessions, that there are certain reactions in which heat is generated, and there are certain reactions which require heat from outside. Right? Now, in a chemical equation, students, I have told you that the bonds of reactants are broken and new bonds are formed. So, when the energy required for the formation of bond is higher than the energy released, what your reaction will require? It will require energy from outside. Fine. Now, based on the heat changes, we have two types of chemical reactions. First is exothermic reaction. The chemical reactions which proceed with the evolution of heat energy, that is, when heat is released, are called as what? Exothermic reactions. The amount of heat energy produced is written along with products. Now this indicates that heat is given out. Okay, I'll elaborate it with an example. Like during respiration, glucose combines with oxygen in the cells of our body to form carbon dioxide and water, and energy is produced. Got this thing? Glucose, the formula of glucose is C6H12O6. It combines with oxygen. Biology students must be knowing. They must have done, okay, it's 10. Nah? So everybody must have done glycolysis, right? So it takes up oxygen and it forms what? Carbon dioxide and water. So students, we have got glucose here. Now in short, I'll tell you the structure of glucose. So glucose is like, this is CHO, that is an aldehyde group, CHOH whole 4, that is 4 times of it is here, and CH2OH. This is what, students? This is glucose. Now you can see here that the carbon and hydrogen and oxygen, these are bonded. Fine. So, for the formation of carbon dioxide, what has to be done is, the bonds between carbon, hydrogen and oxygen has to be broken. And the new bond has to be formed between your carbon and oxygen, which is like this. This is C, double bond O, double bond O. This is what? Carbon dioxide and water. Water is O and this is H, this is H. See students that in glucose, the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen are bonded in a different manner. But when that glucose has been cleaved, we have got what? Carbon dioxide and water. So the new type of bonds are formed and a new substance is formed with new type of properties. Got my point? Like your glucose is solid, right? Oxygen is a gas. Then your carbon dioxide is gas and H2O is liquid. Here students, we have written glucose aqueous. AQ is written there. What do you mean by that? That is, glucose is being dissolved in water. You all know that in our body there is 70% of water. So the glucose is in aqueous form. Right? So in this case the energy is evolved. So I have written it on the product side. So it would be an example of exothermic reaction. Clear? Now our next equation is carbon solid plus oxygen gas gives carbon dioxide gas. Now In this case also, what is happening? Carbon solid. Is there any sort of bond between carbon atoms? No. Oxygen gas. Now what type of bond is present in oxygen? You all know that oxygen exists as a diatomic atom. So in an oxygen molecule there are double bonds. So what is being done is this double bond is broken and a new bond is formed in carbon dioxide, thus releasing large amount of energy. Okay, we have got another equation here, that is nitrogen combines with hydrogen giving ammonia, right? Now in this case students, we have again got nitrogen. How are the two atoms bonded in nitrogen? They are bonded by a triple bond. How hydrogen atoms are bonded? They are bonded by a single bond. And in ammonia, how these are present students? How these are present? Where is the structure? In ammonia, I have got nitrogen here. This is one hydrogen. This is second hydrogen. This is third hydrogen. Right? So I have got 2 NH3. I'll draw it properly. So in this case, what is happening students? Just tell me that your nitrogen, the bonds between nitrogen and hydrogen is being broken. Okay. Now this is your nitrogen bonded with one hydrogen, second hydrogen and the third hydrogen. So this is what students, this is ammonia. Is my point here? Now in this case also, there are 3 bonds between 2 nitrogen atoms. When these 3 bonds break, huge amount of energy is released. Okay. There is a single bond between hydrogen and hydrogen, so there also energy will be released. Now, what type of bonds are formed in ammonia? You can just see what type of bond is formed, students. It is single bond. Nitrogen single bonded to hydrogen. Here again single bond and here again single bond. Right? So, energy required is less. Is my point clear? So, in this case, energy is released. And this is an example of what? Exothermic reaction. So students, whenever you are finding an equation in which energy in positive form, that is plus energy, is written on the right hand side of the equation, then it is what type of chemical reaction? It is an exothermic reaction. Getting my point? Now let's discuss the endothermic reactions. Okay. Now what are endothermic reactions, students? The chemical reactions which proceed with absorption of heat energy are called endothermic reactions. Right? I have told you, when they absorb heat energy, it is an endothermic reaction. Okay. Now the amount of heat absorbed is written along with the reactants. Why? Since it is absorbed. Because they are taking up energy. So where you'll write it on the reactant side. Clear? This is an example of endothermic reaction, that is, during photosynthesis, sunlight energy is absorbed by green plants to form glucose. Right? Now here students, the equation written is wrong. So I'll just erase it. This is another example of endothermic reaction. Okay. So we have got our this thing. Photosynthesis. It is an example of what type of equation, students? It is an example of endothermic reaction. Now let's discuss few examples. Examples: during photosynthesis, sunlight energy is absorbed by green plants to form glucose. That is, from what all moieties glucose is formed? It is carbon dioxide gas, water liquid and glucose solid. And what is released out, students, is oxygen gas. Right? Now what are the things it is using for energy? It is using sunlight energy. Okay? Now in this case, students, there is glucose formed. Right? So, for the formation of so many bonds between carbon and oxygen, what is required is, the energy required is very high. Okay, and the bonds between carbon and oxygen break. I have told you previously, what is the structure of carbon dioxide? CO2. What is the structure, children? It is O double bond C double bond O. Okay, now how many bonds will be cleaved? 4 bonds are cleaving, right? But how many bonds are being formed? The bonds being formed are CH double bond O, then CHOH whole 4 and CH2OH. Now this is the structure of what? Glucose. Got my point, students? So in glucose, how many bonds are being formed? The number of bonds formed are more, and the number of bonds cleaved are how much, students? The number of bonds cleaved are less, right? So what is to be done is, you have to take energy from outside. Got my point? So you have to take energy from sunlight. Now there is another equation here, that is nitrogen gas reacts with oxygen gas and forms NO, right? So here also, students, for the formation of NO, you require a huge amount of energy. Okay, so this is also an example of endothermic reaction. Fine. Now I hope you can see or you have understood that what type of reaction it is, or to indicate the type of reaction, what all are the things you have to mention there, right? For example, change in color, you have to mention colors in the equation. For example, evolution of heat or absorption of heat, you have to mention it separately. Then only your equation will be complete. Right, students? So a complete equation is an equation where reactants and products are mentioned in the form of their states, or the states of reactants and products is mentioned. First thing. Second thing, whether the reaction is exothermic or endothermic, how can you indicate it? By writing the amount of energy either on the product side or on the reactant side. Got my point? Or the third thing which you can give is, if there is change in color, you must write that there is change in color of the substance. Okay. For example, in our previous sessions, we discussed an equation, that is, when sulfur dioxide is passed through orange colored potassium dichromate, the color changes. Okay. Now there also you need to write the color. Right, students? So for now we have discussed all the things about chemical equations. In our next session we will be discussing about types of chemical reactions. Okay.